everybody, and welcome to another edition of the award-winning podcast, FORDY Runs Podcast. It's better name. Welcome. I'm here with my colleague, Hayden Harvard. You're right, Hayden?
I am very good, mate. I'm very hot, but still.
Yeah, we're still recording another episode on the world's hottest day, and you still, if you didn't, I don't know which one's going to come out first, but either way round, you need to go and leave a nice review for us because we're taking one for the team, and we've got a lot of shit reviews on Apple. We need a lot of good ones, okay? So make sure you go and do that. If you can hear anything in the background, that's me. I've got a fan down here that's blowing about 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I think it's just actually circulating warm air now.
It does,
and that's not the hot air that's coming out of my mouth. I think it's just bloody hot in here. This is one of our uncensored episodes. You're welcome. And if you've not listened to one of these before, this is where Hayden slags everybody off, and I'm not to blame for anything, that's true, isn't it?
It's absolutely not true.
Hesitation there. But seriously, yeah, I do like to make this point at the front end of these uncensored because some people tend to lose their minds. This is only opinion. It doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things, okay? So whatever we say, take it with a pinch of salt. We're not really giving two monkeys what we're saying. It's a little bit more flippant than we normally would be, okay? You be pre-warned. It's only opinion. It doesn't matter. If you strongly disagree with it, please send an email into haydenharvard@hobbit.com. All right? Okay, Hayden. Now, Hayden's leading on this one because he's come up with this topic, which I thought was quite interesting. But I have, and this is honest, I've intentionally tried not to read into it, get involved in it, because I wanted, as always, shoot from the hip. Is that fair?
Absolutely fair, yeah, 100%.
I sort of went a little bit off on just the tangent when we started actually accidentally more than anything else on the other podcast we did. So it's kind of good because it is a relevant topic, I would say. So Hayden, share with the listeners and the viewers what we're talking about tonight.
So I was literally scrolling on Instagram, as you do, and someone had put a post on. It was titled, "Where are the older runner influencers?" So we all know of influencers. We're putting the same pod tonight because I know you hate the word influencers and content creators, people that put themselves out there for everyone else to look at. And basically what she was saying is that a lot of the older generation people now are they don't seem to be around as much. And what we're trying to find out, and we're going to talk about tonight is that because they're not relevant anymore? Is that because they're on the wrong platforms? Or is it because the algorithm doesn't like them anymore? Brands aren't supporting them? Let's find out the reasons why. And my plan was to speak to you about it, obviously, because this is the position that you're in. So I just thought that it's a bit of just a light-hearted topic. It's something to talk about. Everyone's got a different opinion, different view. And to be fair, on her comments on this post, there was a lot of people that commented, a lot of what you can call content creators and influencers. Some of them I'd never, ever heard of, but went on the net. We're talking, they got 20, 30, 40,000 followers. So they've been around a long time and they all comment the same sort of thing. Charlie Runner Beans, she'd be on the podcast with us on these episodes before. And she'd comment as well, basically just saying, "Look, guys, I'm still here." And it's that sort of thing. So, yeah, I thought we get started.
So what was the comments in general?
There was a lot of comment. As we go through this, we talk to you about it, you're going to understand what the comments were, because some of the comments are the ones I've picked up on, and I'll ask you to see if you have of the same opinion. But I think it's easy if we start back at the beginning and talk. Obviously, Chris, you've been doing this sort of stuff for a long time now. It's easy to tell us what was being a content creator or influencer actually. What did it actually look like? Let's go back, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. What did it actually look like?
It was like the Wild West. It was. There was the brands weren't. They were there, but they weren't there. Do you know what I mean? They weren't paying for stuff. You could literally do one thing, and someone would pick you up. Like I'm talking brand or agencies, that sort of thing. The stuff you was making could be of any standard, let's say. This is going to sound awful to other people, but just to remember myself, it didn't necessarily have to have that much thought behind it. Like you see now where people are literally doing content calendars, and preloading stuff to get certain amount of engagement. They're following certain trends for certain topics. They know what's trending. They'll see, certain things coming out, like at the moment with carousels with text over the top of them, like one thing, and that's all with a quote on. They'll follow that sort of stuff. It'll all be pre-made. They'll, put stuff out at certain times, all that sort of stuff. Back then, it was like, here's a picture of me, my fat face. I just did a run, and then you'd get 1,000 likes. You know what I mean? It was a totally different world. and people were picking up on it, brands were picking up on it, and that sort of stuff. If you were happy to put yourself out back then, you seem to get picked up a lot easier. Now you've got to say a lot of brands, a lot of vetting processes, a lot of applications if you want to do it, and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, back then obviously it was a bit like the Wild West.
Did you ever imagine that like running would become like such a huge, such a huge content category? When we're talking literally about just content and social media, did you think running would become as big in that field as it is now?
No, and I think I'd give everyone a bit of perspective. I don't, obviously there's people out there who are massive in this space. Okay. I'm as always unique in the respect of I'm across multiple platforms, but more importantly than anything else, I ended up creating what has become the largest running club in the country. So my influence is not through my social media. It's because of the size of the club and what we stand for, what we've done for running clubs in this country, and the landscape in general. If you think about it, there's a reason why England Athletics started a virtual running club. Yeah, you're welcome, by the way. You know what I mean? And the popularity of social run groups. We were doing that pre-COVID. Yeah, all this sort of stuff, meetups, all that. You know, we were doing all that stuff before everybody else did it, right? To a degree. There was other people, but not on the scale that we scaled up. So again, my influence as an influencer is not as a social media person. I didn't go out there like we saw over the last year or two, certain people who have literally done it to become famous, to get brand deals, to get paid, and that sort of stuff. That wasn't ever my choosing. I did it because I enjoyed the creative process of making videos on YouTube, and then and I was told by many gurus on the stuff that I was watching back then, oh, you need to be on Instagram to funnel into your YouTube channel. That was basically the way I went.
So do you feel like you was creating stuff for the community as opposed to like now they're like chasing algorithm?
I've never chased algorithm, as you can see by the amount of followers I have on Instagram and TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Not even with your shoe reviews at all. With
the shoe reviews, I've never chased subscribers, because otherwise I wouldn't turn around and say that shoe is total and utter shit. That shoe wore out at the back after 3 weeks. I'm not reviewing that from that brand because basically your shoes are crap. If I would be a yes man, like this is the thing, say 4 years ago, a lot of people popped up on YouTube and they became yes men and women, and they just said, yeah, I'll do a review. This is the best thing ever. Don't get me wrong. I have been extremely guilty of doing those sort of reviews, but I learned from it because it wasn't true to me. But it was back when we started, you're talking about looking back and, I never, that was not the path. But I'm a bit of a different animal to a lot of what's out there because of my neurodivergent ways. Yeah. It's very black and white to me, this whole thing. And I started out making YouTube videos about my running journey. And then I started doing the odd shoe review because I liked running shoes, because I was obsessed with running and running shoes, because again, I have a hyper focus on something. So that's where everything came from. And that social media aspect was there because all the gurus that I was listening to told me I needed to be on all these platforms to help grow my YouTube channel. Yeah. But again, I wasn't really that bothered about it because if you look at my content on those channels, it's poor. But again, not really that bothered.
So I am, for the sake of this next half hour or so, I am gonna class you as an older running influencer.
I'm happy to take that.
Even though Kafuzi commented on the post, actually, and he was like disgusted that someone over the age of 35, you're an older running influencer. He wasn't happy. But still, so when we start looking at these older running influencers, do you think there is fewer of them creating content all the moment, or are they just creating the content differently?
I think the algorithm promotes the content by the new, younger, because that's the audience. But I do think the older ones, when they do post, get much more traction quicker and instantly because they have what's the word? There is a word out there, but you basically, not dominance, but yeah, the algorithm knows that when you're saying something, it's going to have gravitas.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
It is influence, isn't it?
Yeah, it's influence, but it's you know your niche, yeah, so right. It will promote that, but instantly because of the size of the following, Yeah, it will just literally, it will jump all over it. So yeah, they might not seem as much, but you again with the older ones, they seem to be more authentic, more genuine, more less sort of less strategic in a way. They're very, very smart about it. Like Afusi's a great example. Spends a lot of his time on threads, and he's brilliant. I just turned $7,000 down to this for this shoe review because it didn't fit right me. That's the sort of stuff he will write. It's brilliant, very transparent, very open, and he's someone I've always inspired to because of his openness and his transparency. But yeah, you look again like Ben Parks. How much does Ben Parks actually post on Instagram?
Yeah,
not much. Ben will do a few shorts here and there when he needs to sell some merch, some of his hats, which are brilliant, or you know, a few shoe reviews that he's done. But in general, he doesn't really do much on Instagram. He never has done. But his YouTube channel is one of the biggest, 385,000 plus subscribers. On one channel, he's got several channels. Do you see what I mean? So when he does do stuff, his stories will have massive reach because it's like, oh, Ben's posted. So I think the older generation,
they're still there.
They're 100% there, but they're like they don't need to chase the algorithm.
Yeah. I get, as you said, running itself has changed. So do you see running more now with content and stuff? Is it more about identity and lifestyle rather than, let's say, performance? You know, you've got trends, outfits, you know, that come run with me style sort of reel that people do. Is that what it's more about now? Creating content within this industry rather than the traditional stuff?
I'll be honest with you, the content that's out there now, most of it's bollocks, isn't it? It's like, oh, it was that big trend where it was like, oh, come and run a half marathon with me. Mile 1, 8:20. Mile 2, 9:20. Mile 3. It's like, how's that interesting? You know what I mean? And it was that sort of stuff. It's like, look at me and my 3 mates in our skinny little outfits. Like, great. I mean, how's that relevant? You know, all this, it's just a lot of the time now, again, this is me being old and miserable, but it's just like, I'm making this so I'm challenging the algorithm to promote something because I have to post a 7-second video every day, but to stay relevant, or like, you know, because this brand's paying me. It's like, I'll make a series again because they're getting paid. Again, I ain't got a problem with that because I've had that, right? But it's the same old shit, unfortunately. Again, that is me being miserable, being in the game, argument's sake, 10 years. Some of it is good. Some of it, I like the inspire. I like the new way of doing stuff. I really liked Ben Felton when he came on the scene. I liked his honesty about the speeds he was running and how he was doing it and stuff like that. I like that from Ben.
He's a great example, actually, because a lot of his is about performance, isn't it, really? Which is
and Ben picked running up, you know, through COVID. Like, and he didn't know he was like super fly, and he is. You know what I mean? And his stuff's great. Billy Bowden's another great example of a really fantastic, massive channel. I wouldn't say she's an older content creator because obviously she's a professional runner. But in terms of the new style of stuff, I think that's a brilliant way to go about it. Very honest, very funny, very quirky, you know, captivating and inspiring in other ways, but also humorous and engaging in others. I think that's a really cool way of doing it. All this other stuff that we see out there. I mean, I saw a geese the other day. Oh, I'm gonna tell you that. Oh, follow me how to break sub 2 at the Great North Run. I mean, giving advice, it's not qualified, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's just talking out of his arse to get views and all this sort of stuff. You're like, dude, seriously, because everybody can. But back then, nobody knew that you could make a living out of it.
No.
That's the other thing is as well. Don't forget that. Back then, people didn't realise that when we're starting all this out, that we could make a living from it.
So when you've got these youngsters and that, and I see it a lot now, and this is quite I don't know if it's a controversial question. You're in a great position, probably one of the best people I could ask this question to. Do you think that there's a chance that outfits and that sort of style will overtake the reviews and things of running shoes? So as a youngster, when I see young content, I see them more about what they're wearing and how they look, as opposed to a lot of the time the shoes they're wearing. And we all know running shoes has been there from day dot, you know, and it's been a big thing, especially for you.
Yeah, I see that. I see this girl the other day. I just got sent this T-shirt. I'm going to take it out.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously? Oh, I mean, straight up, thanks very much. No interest. Do I think that's going to be the new thing? Oh, I don't know. I mean,
Or maybe accessories. Anything else apart from running shoes? Can they compete?
Yeah, yeah, of course they can, because it's what's trending, isn't it? It's like anything. It's like them fans that you see on the train with got them all on TikTok store. It's that it's that herd mentality that we have, isn't it? So yeah, of course it can. And if they send it out to enough people will post it. Enough people will get behind it and do it, right?
So we're talking. Yeah, I was going to say shoes, clothing, events. It makes running a huge. Yeah, it makes running a huge industry. It is. But do you think that now it is marketed and geared more towards that younger audience? And the obvious question is why?
Massive. But then, is that a bad thing?
Could be. If it's to the detriment of what we're talking about today, which is the older running influencer who's been there from the start and is still producing content and is still doing what they've always done.
I think what also you find is that people get my age and they get bored, they get fed up of doing it.
Right.
As well. You know, up opportunities come along. There was a really good running shoe reviewer. He ended up going working for a brand. You know what I mean? Knew his stuff, went off to work for a brand. And you know, it's a young man's game. That side of things, it is. And yeah, the popularity of that, of the ease in which that generation, that post-pandemic generation, could pick up their phone and film content, because through the pandemic, that's what they were doing. They were making stuff on their phones. It's a lot different to when I was out there running along with a GoPro on a gimbal, because we didn't have stabilization in GoPros. You know, that's the sort of thing that we was doing back then. I don't really remember. I used to run along with a gimbal.
Yeah.
You know, because of the stabilization of it. So you know, the whole thing's changed with obviously with the popularity of phones again, which is a good thing, and the accessibility of putting stuff out there. I in general think it's a good thing that the people are making stuff for, because again, you will find somebody that's relevant to you. But in bringing it back to your point about the older people, I still think that the older generation, make themselves up, but they know that those content creators and they follow them as well.
Yeah, which is a good thing. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, point. So don't, you know, I get people tuning to me on a Monday night talking about running shoes. You know, it's that I get younger guys, and funnily enough, I'm seeing. And it's really nice. I always get young people at races. I mean, you've been there, and I always get people come up talk to me at races and events and stuff like that all the time. It's really nice, yeah. But what I've noticed recently is that I'm getting younger blokes come up to me, because my demographics is mainly men, rightly or wrongly. But obviously, I review shoes as a bloke, yeah, so it makes sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm seeing younger guys come up to me and say hello, which I find kind of interesting. So that age group that used to be a similar sort of age to me, I'm also seeing younger guys. Made me think about it, because I was at an event on Friday, and there was two guys, younger guys, who were running for a club. Oh, I thought he loved the channel. Boom, 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 boom. Cracked on. Do you know what I mean? Seeing more of that. So I'm crossing over a little bit because of the shoe reviews.
Yeah.
But and I would say the same about others. My content is probably not as relevant where a lot of the high searches.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not doing it in a way that's appealing to the algorithm.
So I've got a really big question, and this is what I'd like to ask to the brands, actually. Do you think engagement and content are basically more valuable to these brands than actual sales?
No, at the end of the day, sales is what you've got to remember. The marketing departments, will get a budget. So around the shoe launch, they'll have the shoe launch. They'll have marketing costs set aside for that. They'll then go out and hire an agency, might do it themselves or an element of themselves, but they'll have a spend set aside for the launch of that shoe or that lineup or whatever, or that clothing lineup. They'll have a money set aside to that. But they will judge the success on that, obviously on metrics, from engagement. But ultimately, bottom line is sales. They are there to make money. They're not there to look good on social media, because although looking good on social media will lead to more sales.
No, but this is where the trap that I'm trying to get you to fall into almost. So why would brands chase almost what we just spoke about, that younger generation and their content, when we all know that the people with disposable income, the people that are going to go out and spend and go and buy all the shoes and that, they are, in real terms, that, if we can call it the older, generation. Our brand's missing this opportunity.
I think there's two sides. They want to get those young people early into the brand because of brand loyalty.
Yeah,
Adidas have been excellent at that with the Evo SL. They really have. If you remember back years ago, like people were wearing Hoka and things like that, people wearing Brooks, always used to wear Brooks. What Adidas did with the Evo SL was incredible, purely by luck, I would say, than anything else. And it's someone who positively reviewed it 2 years ago, yeah. I think that shoe gets people into Adidas early, and then people follow the brand. So you used to see it with Nike. People would buy Nike shoes, Pegasus, and then buy a pair of Alpha Fly because it was the Alpha Fly because it's Nike. Even though they're breaking their ankles every time they run it, because they have the brand affiliation. So what they're trying to do is get that younger audience early, that post-pandemic runner, into those brands early, because they'll know that they'll stick to. You used to see it with on running shoes all the time. I'll never forget. I was doing like a shakeout run of some sort in London, and there was this group of guys and a girl, you know, this typical Gen Z audience, and they're all wearing on running shoes. And I said to them, "Why are you wearing them out of interest?" "Oh, because my mate told me they were good, and then he said they were good, and yeah, and that's all I've had. I've ever had is on then because I've really got on with these on running shoes." And so On back then, and this was like 5 years ago, whatever it was, when On were really popular, because they got them into them, so they're probably buying On shoes still. And he said he never tried anything else. The guy who spoke up never tried anything else. So that's why they're doing that, because it's genius. The other way, obviously, it does look good on social media. It looks better to have that wider demographic of runner, you know, long, tall, short, fat, thin, you know, all that sort of stuff, different looks and all that sort of stuff. It's a lot easier to create content around that than us, you know, older, fatter people. Talking about myself, by the way. No, but it's true. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's two sides to that story.
Yeah. But again, I say we go back to talking about the socials and the algorithm and stuff. And we know that social platforms, they reward certain things like that fast attention, like you spoke about a minute ago, strong visuals, that relatability straight away. And because of that, and having like these 10-second reels and not caring about what anyone else thinks, do you think that is why you're not seeing as much of the older influencer? Because that definitely is for the younger generation.
We're set up in different ways. We create content, like I said to you back then, in a totally different way. Totally different way. I really, as I said, you go on to TikTok, you go on to Instagram. I have absolutely no clue, and I gave up years ago trying to do anything on there. Firstly, because I just simply haven't got the manpower upstairs to deal with it. Could I research it, put it together, and all that sort of stuff? Sit there and create these reels, whatever. Yeah. Do I have time? No. Why? Because I've got 2 daughters and a wife that, you know, don't see me on the best of times because I'm, you know, recording podcasts, making YouTube videos, trying to help you run the club, have a full-time job, go and do races because I enjoy it. But more importantly, anything else, train because I love to train. You know, there's that sort of thing. I also go back to the point of, I wonder how much, you know, these guys are actually training. I don't know. I'm not digging anyone out here. How much are they running? But I think it's more about how we used to create content. If you look through a lot of the guys who started out on YouTube and look at their Instagrams, it's a bit shit, I think, versus people who make Instagram. I think one person that really done well through it is This Messy Happy. They did very well in terms of the crossover.
Yeah, very well. True.
Where, you know, others sort of more old-fashioned. Go back to the point of Ben Parks. Look at Ben Parks on his reels. Look at Kafuzi on Instagram. Like, you know what I mean? His Instagram, relative to his YouTube videos, because you could argue it's nowhere near it, because he spends all his time on his YouTube videos. Don't get me wrong, he still spends some time on his, but if you just compare the two, it's like night and day. It's interesting, isn't it? So I think that generation of creator,
it's changed platform.
Where it's that cross platform thing, isn't it? more than anything else, we struggle to go into, not struggle, but going onto Instagram. You probably find the people on Instagram that were like there are probably a lot more authentic in terms of what the stuff they put on there.
Right.
It's not necessarily calculated.
So I suppose the big question is then, with running and with content creation, influencer stuff, where do we go from here? And is the big question as well, I'd like to get your opinion on, is there room for everyone, this younger Gen Z generation with the 10-second come run with me clips, as opposed to the older influencer who is maybe telling people about how they've just got back for a run and now they've got to go and do the gardening, that you know, the sort of chalk and cheese? Is there room for both there?
There's always room. And I think that the younger generation do a cracking job on social media. There's a lot of these younger guys and girls who do really, really good stuff. There's a lot of girls and guys who do really crap stuff. Like I said, I've just done 1 mile, 2:28. You know, and they're doing it. Yeah, fine. There's stuff against you, but they're doing that. They're doing that at parkrun, and you're like, shut up, please. Again, I must annoy people when I go with a GoPro, but whatever. Same thing in it. There's definitely room for both because there's enough appetite for it. You can see that from the London Marathon take-up. There is a lot of appetite out there for content still. I think it's peaked. I think the older generation who are more on YouTube will probably still be there. We've sort of gone through that period where that younger generations come through, and those who are still around are still around. Do you know what I mean? And have relevance, and our voices within the community. Hate that word, but within that, you know, in terms of the marketing word use of it. But I think in terms of the community, I still think their voices. But yeah, it's a funny one. I do think that people like myself will slowly fade away. Because it's just, do you chase those views? Do you chase the algorithms? Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I simply can't be asked. It's a lot of effort. You know what I mean?
But there's got to be that relevance factor there. So me myself being nearly 50, when I go out and I want to look at a shoe review, or I'll look at a race or anything like that, I'm not going to connect with that. It might look brilliant, the 21-year-old who's just literally gone out and smashed a race in the new spray ons and they look good. That's not going to connect with me. But that 35, 40, 45, 50, 60-year-old that's been doing it for a long time, that knows their shit about all this thing, that's what I'm going to connect with. So for me, when you say you'll fade out, I think it'd be sad to see people fade out because they don't feel there's a space there for them. Because
we don't necessarily, and this is not why it was me, but we don't necessarily feel the love as much as we used to, as you say, because the money that is around, and there ain't as much as people think there is, by the way, are spending it in certain ways and on certain people. And that's not why it was me, because again, I've checked out. So you do see that there's a real lack of sort of from the brands to back that older generation content creator. I'm going to put aside people like Kafuzi, because I said he turned down $7,000 for a shoe review the other day, right?
There's always exceptions, always.
There's always exceptions, but in general, it's like, you know, I got this week. I had an email from a brand. Love for you to be a part of this new launch we're doing. It's under embargo until blah, 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 blah. Are you interested? Yeah, I'm interested. I like the brand a lot. I mean, I like the brand a lot. I use their stuff a lot. Okay. And that's not a paid thing. I just like their product. I'm not going to tell the name because it's a bit unfair. But FORDY, we want you to be involved in this launch of this, and this. I said, okay, fine. What's involved? We want you to create boom, 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 boom. And I thought to myself, hang on a minute. Right. I've got to make a video for this. I've then got to cut it up. I've got to edit it. I've got to make it look pretty decent because it's for a brand. Can't just do my usual shit. But you know what I mean? I've got to spend a bit of time on that. That's going to take me away from doing that and probably that for that period of time. Okay. what you're paying. We're going to give you product. I'm not being funny, but I've got enough of that. I don't need more. What I need is for you to pay me to just for my time that's going to go out and I'm promoting your product. So I respectfully, and I said it in a nice way, I said respectfully, I simply don't have time. If I'm going to spend that sort of time, I want to get paid for it. I think that's fair.
Absolutely.
And they turn around and go, okay. But the thing is now, people are out there, they're so desperate to be famous. It's like there's that one guy out there who did all this stuff for free because he wanted to be famous. He wanted to get, to a certain place, and he did everything for free. And that's great. Well done. And I think the penny's finally dropped. You know what I mean? It takes its toll doing all that stuff for free because you're taking your time away from whether you've got a full-time job, whether you're taking time away from your family. You've got expenses. Again, software to edit you can get stuff that's free, but it's not the best in the world. Even to host this sort of stuff costs money. There's an expense involved, and the ad revenue, believe it or not, doesn't really cover it. But I think you need to quantify the time involved for somebody like me of my generation to put that stuff together. Okay. It's different if you've just got a phone and you're happy to knock something up because you're from that generation. It's a totally different thing. And you're doing it because you want to get into that line of work. But for me, I'm you've got to pay for it now. Like that, I know, but everybody else is doing it for free. So again, that's where I lose out because I'm not willing to do it for free. As you know better than anyone, because I've been turning around saying it to people for years. I've gone to people, yeah, that's great, we can do that, but you've got to pay for that. Otherwise, it's a no-go. Why would I do that for free? What sort of world are we living in where you're cleaning somebody's bin, and then you go, oh yeah, oh no, I thought you did it for free. What's that? Well, just everyone else did. What? Sorry, hang on. Just cleaned your, you know what I mean? It's like that sort of thing, isn't it? But that's the sort of world we now live in because people are creating content freely, willy and nilly. Like I had a brand the other day. We want to reuse your reel that you made. And I thought to myself, what do I say? A bit of a tricky situation because normally I would turn around and go, yeah, you can, but that's going to cost you X, Y, and Z. Yeah. But that race, I was on a media bib. So I was rocking a hard place. So it's post-event that they wanted to use it, not post. It's like, but it's cheeky, isn't it? Mm. So do I turn around and say, no, but I'd already made it. I'd already had the place that worked for me because it fitted in with, again, a bigger piece of content that I was creating. So that actually worked for me, that having that place and what I was doing towards that. So I sort of put that to a side that they wanted to use that again because I'd already done that. So that was all right. But normally I'd turn around and go, oh, look, he's here. He's here. Buds is here. Normally I'd turn around and go, yeah, sure, you can do that. It's going to cost you. Oh, and I'd make a number up. Sometimes I make numbers up because I simply can't be asked to do it. And again, that's because I'm a different generation from these younger guys and girls who I think are trying to, just trying to get famous and trying to push their followers and all this sort of stuff. And I think
is this the answer to the question? The big question that we started off with about the running influencer, the older generation fading away and not around as much.
Yeah, they are.
Is that because of this reason? Whereas the youngsters would do all this and do it for nothing and do it. Whereas the older generation are like, whoa.
You still get like older people who come onto the scene and then do it for free because they're not runners. Do you know what I mean? And that's a hard thing to say, but they don't start at they weren't into running. They used running as a vehicle. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because of the popularity of it. I've seen that across TikTok. They follow the trend of running to grow their audience because they're looking to, again, I have no problem people making a living any which way but use. So keep that roof over your head and feed your family. Yeah. Do you 100%. But I think that has negatively impacted the older generation of content creator because, we came from a time where brands used to pay for stuff. They still do sometimes, you see it with like Believe in the Run. That's, they get paid from brands to do stuff and great because look at the base they've got. you know, and they've got multiple different stuff that they do, but they get paid for activations and things like that. It's brilliant. They're one of the older generation, and I think they're, again, a one-off. But you look at some of these other ones, I think they would just fade away, like myself, because we haven't hit that level where it's sufficient to make a full-time job out of it. That's the other aspect of it. Again, younger girls came on the scene, hit a certain number, was able to get paid enough to do it full-time because they had no job beforehand, or they were in college or something like that, where, you know, I still am in a full-time job, same with a few other people out there. And it's that hard balance, isn't it? Of going, you've got to make enough to keep your roof over your head, feed your family. Can you go into that full-time? But this messy happy have, fair play to them. You know what I mean? It's like, and you ask them how stressful it is. They're very honest about it. Go and have a chat with them. But it's a big thing. It's a big difference. And I think that's where you'll see certain older generation content creators fade. And that's, to answer the question, that's probably what you've seen. Yeah.
And that is such a shame, because the people that literally have built the running communities, you don't want it to become invisible just because basically the internet's moved on. The internet's changed. The algorithms changed. What the brands want has changed. The sport has always, sport's more about, it's always been about showing up, hasn't it? And, you know, that should apply online too, in my opinion. But
yeah, and again, this is not a woe is me thing, but you do see, I think the brands are as guilty as anybody. I think they've pushed the conversation along to different aspects away from that person. They're not interested in working with certain people. And I'm not talking about me, yeah, because I'm very lucky. But, you know, you do see certain creators that they just literally, they used to do stuff with and then they don't, because they're not fashionable anymore, don't have the right look or whatever. And again, that's just a sign of the times, bruv. That's just, again, and that over time, because then it's a balance, isn't it? I'm making all this stuff, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm spending all this time, but it's not generating enough income to warrant me spending that time. It's different if you're doing it for the love of it. Again, I'm a total different animal, because I set out with make videos about my journey and then ended up accidentally creating the largest running community club, and well, not community because it's bigger communities, but club in the country that has over 50 local groups across the UK going out every week. That's excluding the community and the global run crew. Yeah. It's a machine, as people know. You know better than anybody because you run it. But I'm a different animal. I don't know any other content creator who's gone out there and created a running club in the UK the size and that we have. I don't know of anybody who's done that. I might be wrong. Name me somebody.
There's people that create the communities, you know, but obviously,
yeah, and these social run groups and all this sort of stuff, runners and stunners and that lot. But I'm talking about an affiliated running club within the you know, with multiple locations across the whole country that serve a whole demographic of runner with no barrier to entry, but done that back from 2018. I don't think there's anybody. So again, I'm a totally different animal. The YouTube and the Instagram is a tiny aspect of what I do. So again, I am a miserable sod.
We have to take that into consideration massively.
You have to remember how miserable I am about everything. Right, I've got to go. I've got to go and pick Scarlett up. Talk about priorities.
Really
Talk about priorities.
Absolutely.
Interesting chat. Let us know your thoughts. I'm going to sneeze in a minute, so you deal with the next bit.
Just left to say thanks for listening, and if you liked it, as Chris always says, make sure you leave us a nice comment. Because
and nice review as well. Make sure you do that. Right, guys, we shall see you on the next one.
See you later.